hooked your trailer on a loose cannon, and you went off and then did this insurrection on his behalf, and then you went to jail, and then he got in president, and you thinking you're getting out, and then you looking and you waiting, the pardon doesn't come. I don't want to say that's for sure, but I don't know. I plan to spend this very first video since relaunching this channel talking about the Gen Z gender gap and focus on how Donald Trump was able to coalesce a lot of Gen Z males over to his side while Kamala got the Gen Z female. I think it's probably more important for this first video to help those who are feeling anxiety, anxiousness, and just, hang-wringing consternation and fear over Donald Trump's most cruel proposals that he's had. I think I need to let y'all know legally as an attorney whether or not they can get done compared to what he tried to do in the last term and what the limitations are, so you can know realistically whether or not within his 4 terms he can do the things that he said he's going to do. I think that's probably a better use of this very first video. So let's start there. But I would say that he has in the past said that the United States government laws give him authority as president to do whatever he wants. He says Article 2 of the Constitution gives him that power. Listen to him here.
Then I have an Article 2 where I have the right to do whatever I want as president, but I don't even talk about that.
That's not true. Contrary, United States, quick little civics lesson. And for those of you who don't know, we have 3 branches of government: the legislators, which makes the laws, and also they're the purse. They're the ones who fund the government. The executive, they execute it. There's agencies, the EPA, Department of Education, Department of Labor, Department of Housing, FCC, FTC, all those agencies fall under the executive. And then you have the judiciary. Judiciary is the court system of courts, the lower courts, the state courts, all of those are courts. But in the federal government, it's just, the federal courts and then the U.S. Supreme Court, which reins in the executive and the legislature to the extent they pass a law that may not pass muster, that might be unconstitutional, or the executive does something that abridges upon people's freedoms. So the judiciary does that. And I know while Donald Trump did install 3 U.S. Supreme Court justices who did his bidding when it came to reversing Roe v. Wade, overruling affirmative action, and actually giving him certain level of presidential immunity, they have gone against Donald Trump in certain instances. For example, he'd asked for a special master in Florida, and he got denied that. The Supreme Court didn't give them that. He also tried to block Democrats in Congress from access to his tax returns, and we know we got his tax returns. So they haven't always ruled in his favor. So it's still working to a certain extent. And when, for example, Donald Trump's Department of Labor Secretary Acosta asked to try to, reverse a Obama-era rule that would stop employers from actually taking the tips of their employees, Congress, the bipartisan Congress, were able to come in and save that and stop that law from going into effect. So that's the balance of power. And then when Donald Trump has tried to do his executive orders, and that's the thing about executive orders you should know. Executive orders is where Congress makes the laws, but the policy, the presidents can make a certain sort of laws by just executive actions. Barack Obama did some. Donald Trump famously criticized Barack Obama for doing that. But however, the data and stats comes in, Donald Trump did more executive actions during his administration compared to other modern presidents, including Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Clinton, George W. Bush. He did more executive actions. The thing about executive actions, they're built on the house of cards. They're just saying things, but the other president can come in and undo it, unravel it, and just rip them up all he wants to. And then also executive actions, they can get challenged. They're subject to challenge from the courts. The Congress, for example, will say, yeah, okay, fine, we're not going to fund that. So that's what we have, a systems of balance to stop presidents, like a Donald Trump type of president, from doing whatever he wants. So that balance exists, whether he likes it or not, but you should at least be calm in knowing that all these things that he planned, some of them could get railroaded super easily with a lawsuit, with Congress saying no. Right now he has the Senate. I'm not quite sure if he got the House of Representatives, but notwithstanding, a lot of the things I'm going to tell you about that Donald Trump has proposed that would be devastating for a lot of people cannot be done unless there's 2/3 vote of the Congress, and a lot of congressional people are not interested in amending the Constitution to do Donald Trump's bidding, no matter what. So I hope you take comfort in knowing that. Like, we have a balanced system, we have limitations, so it's not as bad. So let me tell you about 4 different laws, 4 different things that Donald Trump has proposed to do and has proposed last time that can't be done. That's almost impossible, okay? The first one is the birthright citizenship. Donald Trump has promised, he promised the last time and this time, to take away birthright citizenship. What is that? That means that so long as you're born on United States soil, you are become a United States citizen. The reason why Stephen Miller, Donald Trump, and some of the Republicans don't like that is because they feel like it's a way for other people from other countries to become citizens through appealing. We have a system where you can become a citizen or come through our process through work, through various different things. We have a diversity visa, but if you have a family member that's a citizen, they can apply for you. And every year we have a certain amount of allotment for families, for sisters, for cousins, for moms, and that's called chain migration. A lot of people in the United States, a lot of immigrants came here because they were filed for by a family member. And so that's an issue for them. However, let's sidebar, Donald Trump's own mother and father-in-law are beneficiaries of chain migration because Melania Trump applied for them to become citizens. All right, back to it. So there's a resistance for chain migration, and that is why they want to stop that by actually stopping birthright citizenship. Now, here's the thing. That's not going to happen because it's, again, like I said, that would require an amendment to the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution. And that's a lot of political capital. Even he kind of tried to do it last time. No, the most he can try to do is try to just restrict peoples through an executive order or through the agency, which would promptly be subject of a lawsuit. It's going to start in the bottom and it's going to percolate to its top. And I'm not quite sure this Supreme Court, even as conservative as it is, will actually deny and want to allow Donald Trump to change the Constitution with an executive action with Stephen Miller. So you can almost be rest assured that that's not going to happen. People are still going to be able to retain their birthright citizenship. So post-production editing popping in here to address 3 points made by my friends on Threads regarding their fear about whether or not Donald Trump truly would be able to be reined in. The first point, for those who said that Donald Trump has the Senate, the Congress, and the House, and then he plans to weaponize the Department of Justice, which is under the executive branch. And because of that, they think we're screwed. However, I want to remind everyone, we've been here before. LBJ, Lyndon B. Johnson, Jimmy Carter, and JFK, for the entire presidencies, had the trifecta, meaning the House, the Senate, and the White House. Also, George Bush, for his first term, had the trifecta as well. Barack Obama, Donald Trump, and Joe Biden, for the first 2 years of their first terms, also had the trifecta. Notwithstanding of that, because we have things like a supermajority is needed to pass major legislation, and right now the Senate, even though the Republicans have the majority, they don't have 60. So that means they would need some Democrats to come over. And with Donald Trump's extreme policy agenda, it's highly unlikely that any Democrat was going to go over to join Donald Trump for any of his most extreme legislative agenda items. So I think that's great. We also have this thing called the filibuster rule, which is still in play, meaning that to stop or slow down a legislature, you debate endlessly, and you need cloture, which means like 2/3 of the Senate in order to close it, of the Congress Senate to close down debate. Is during that time that they're debating, there's a lot of behind the scenes negotiating to try to adjust the terms and make it more favorable and make some adjustments. That's what happens. So that is also a tool that could be used. That's at their disposal. But for all those times when those presidents have had the trifecta, they haven't been able to get their total legislative agenda done because they got a lot of stuff done, but there were a lot of roadblocks. The most extreme stuff, they didn't have the political capital to do it. I mentioned that before. So they just didn't get done. It's not all a loss. Extreme. I'm dealing with the most extreme ones, the birthright citizenship question and others. The second concern is the Supreme Court seemingly giving Donald Trump absolute immunity, meaning he can do whatever he wants and he won't be prosecuted for it. I know there's various different interpretations. It's not necessarily absolute. And again, Amy Coney Barrett, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, in their concurrent opinions, all said that for the most part that it's not fleshed out yet. We need to see more, and they haven't necessarily given him total immunity. So there's a lot of flexibility, a lot of room there. I still think that in terms of applying the law broadly and taking in fact jurisprudence, which means the history of case law, I still think the Supreme Court will not necessarily just greenlight any crazy old decision that Donald Trump makes. I still have faith in that aspect of them, especially considering, as I said before, that they have not gone with him in the past. And the third one is someone who said that in terms of birthright citizenship, someone said that they believe that Supreme Court could just, on their own, just interpret the 14th Amendment to mean that people who were born on the soil shouldn't be allowed to have birthright citizenship. Now that's something I can tell you that's not going to happen, because the Supreme Court does not make laws. They interpret laws. Only when it's ambiguous and you have different interpretations from different circuits and it's confusing, they come in there and they read the law and they look at the case law and the history. They're not even supposed to look at the facts. They just look at the way the law has been applied to other cases and they piece it together and they come up with a decision to interpret it. And it's only when it's ambiguous. It's unambiguous that once you're born in the United States, per the 14th Amendment, you have birthright citizenship. There's no gray area there for them interpreting anything. So that one is something that's, I can almost be confidently say that they're not going to remove that at all. Even the conservative justices aren't going to go that far. So give them a little bit of credit. So those are just the 3 points that other people had brought up. And I said, while I'm editing this video, I'm going to put my orange sweater back on. I'm going to address those 3. So let's continue with the rest. Like I said in the beginning, the cruel things that Donald Trump said he was going to do at some point, this is just me, because I'm outside of the prediction game because I've messed up already and I was wrong. At some point, the Republicans and Donald Trump are interested in the business community. At some point, the restaurants, the farmers, the construction workers, the housing developments are all going to say, we've lost all our staff. We've lost our people. We try to replace some of Americans. They're not showing up. And we've seen this before. This has happened before. This is not new. The crops are drying up. They're not showing up. They're coming. They're working. They're taking breaks. We need our migrants back. We need our immigrants back. And so, yeah, I think that's what's going to happen most likely. So in terms of for that cruel policy, I don't know. Again, I'm out of the prediction game, but I'm not quite sure if that's going to pan out. So that's the first one. So 2 more really quick. First Amendment of the Constitution enshrines lots of rights, including the freedom of religion, freedom of press, and freedom of protest. All of that is enshrined in the First Amendment. So freedom of religion, if you saw Donald Trump's on his website talk about abolishing the Department of Education, one of the things says we're going to return and bring back prayer to schools.
5th, we will support bringing back prayer to our schools.
That's a clear violation of the First Amendment, freedom of religion, no establishment, the clause. You can't do that. So that's out. So he can't do that. Whether he wants to or not, that's not going to happen. The second thing, freedom of press, a few times he threatened the press and said he's going to shut down news organizations, or he even threatened to, try to do some libel law, expand the libel law, or change the libel law.
Open up our libel laws so when they write purposely negative and horrible and false articles, we can sue them and win lots of money. We're going to open up those libel laws so that when the New York Times writes a hit piece, which is a total disgrace, or when the Washington Post, which is there for other reasons, writes a hit piece, we can sue them and win money instead of having no chance of winning because they're totally protected. You see, with me, they're not protected because I'm not like other people, but I'm not taking money. I'm not taking their money. So we're going to open up those libel laws, folks, and we're going to have people sue you like you never got sued before.
He didn't change the libel laws last time as he threatened, and for the most part, I think journalists can be safe. I really highly doubt that he's going to actually go after journalists and throw them in jail. So he just says these things. So that's the second one. And the other clause in the First Amendment is the freedom of protest. Now, there's a report from his General Kelly and from a report from the Atlantic that said that while he was in office, he was so frustrated with the civil rights protesters protesting for the George Floyd movement, he'd asked if they could shoot the protesters. And then when the folks in the room were like, you can't do that, he said, well, can we shoot him in the kneecaps? Like he was, yeah, you can't do that. This go around, he's actually said in front of Israeli groups when he was trying to get president that he would deport foreign students who are protesting for Hamas, which, as you know, there's a gray area there. If you're protesting for Palestine, he would be able to say that's for Hamas and throw them in jail. Here's the thing: no matter if you're a student, if you're a visa, if you're here on a visitor's visa, a permanent visa, or you're a United States citizen, everyone in the United States is afforded the freedom to protest, even if you're not a United States citizen. Even though that's something that's enshrined in the First Amendment of the United States citizens, through law, through jurisdiction, through practice, it accompanies everyone. Because if there's a large protest, you can't single out, say, you here, show me your papers. You're not a citizen. You don't get the protest. That's not how it works. So he can't do that. So that's out the way. So those are 3 other laws he said he would try to do, which is against our First Amendment. He made a joke. I think it was a joke, but it was a really off-putting joke about saying one cruel day where police would be able to off anybody they want to, sort of like the Purge.
Had one really violent day, like a guy like Mike Kelly, put him in charge. It's a chain of events that's so bad. One rough hour, and I mean real rough, the word will get out and it will end immediately.
really tasteless. But if he were to try to propose that, which I know it was a joke, that would go up front to the Fourth Amendment and the Fifth Amendment, several different amendments to give you Fourth Amendment right to due process, a jury before your peers. The Fifth Amendment say the freedom of incrimination. So when people say you have the right to remain silent, you have the right to a jury trial. All of those that comes with the amendment and the jurisprudence, the laws that were interpreting that amendment, says there's a whole process that goes through. The police cannot do that. And as I said in this the clip that I've done in the past, that something like that would be horrible for Black and brown people who Donald Trump has asked to bring back stop and frisk. But during the stop and frisk aggressive policing in New York City, ACLU did a research and found that most of the people who were stopped and frisked were actually Black and brown people. And then, however, 89% of them were innocent of doing any crime. So Donald Trump saying he would bring back stop and frisk, he would actually give immunity to police officers who are to have ended the lives of an unarmed Black person or person of color, immunity, even if they did it or not. That's really dangerous, just talking points. That's just hostile talking points that show he doesn't understand or care about the Black man. Again, during his last administration, someone asked him, what do you think about the police shooting, Black people? And he says, no, they're shooting white people too. Listen.
Why are African Americans still dying at the hands of law enforcement in this country?
And so are white people. So are white people. What a terrible question to ask. So are white people. More white people, by the way. More white people.
Yeah, so he's not even willing to acknowledge the reality of the data, which says that Black people are getting killed with impunity more than other races of people. So that's kind of dangerous. So to make that statement or say that one rough period when 89% of the people, according to ACLU, who were stop and frisk on any one given that period were innocent of any crimes, and the mental anguish that it caused to that group of people, that's just a dangerous thing to say. But rest assured, the Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment, 10th Amendment, all the different rights that you have and process and procedures, criminals are not going away just because Donald Trump said some evil things to massage his base to just placate his like bloodthirsty MAGA crew. Throughout his, and this is just a few examples, he said lots of stuff that legally he can't do. He doesn't have Article 2 Article 2 power to do whatever he wants. He's not a king. He's not an autocrat. He's not governing North Korea or Russia or where's the other places, or Turkey, places that had dictators or people who were like China, communists or China. He's the president of the United States. The United States is a land of rule. Of the country of laws. And he's broken plenty of them. I don't even want to get to that because I don't think that's worth it, because the only people care about the laws he broke are Harris supporters and Democrats and liberals and leftists. There's a lot of people who voted for him who really don't care. So I don't even think it's worth even regurgitating his many crimes ever on any of these videos, because it's a waste of my breath because we all know. Anyways, that's it. So I hope that was helpful for you. I hope you take that information and knowledge and share it with folks in your circles, your sphere of influence, so they will know the likelihood that, and trust me, I mean, I'm not the only person saying this. I think there's other attorneys saying this. If you watch cable news or if you Google or do some other research, you'll see other people saying the same thing, that a lot of threats that he made won't be necessarily carried out. And again, like I said at the top of the video, because he's in his second term, he doesn't necessarily have to go all balls out. And as we know, Donald Trump flip-flops. Like he voted for, he said he loved Hillary Clinton. He lauded praise over her. He gave Kamala Harris money for her campaign. He was pro-choice. He's flip-flopped on so many issues from all the 12 years, the 10 years in between, from his presidency to when he was then and now and future. He's gone all over the map. You just don't know what you're going to get with him. He's a mixed bag. And so because of that, you just don't even know if he really is going to make good on all these promises he said to the MAGA people, because he doesn't owe them. He doesn't even owe January 6 people to take them out of jail, honestly. I know a bunch of them, they're waiting for their pardon. But the thing about it is, again, political capital. Does he want to use his political capital to pardon those guys? Because if he does that, that's going to be a lot of political capital when he wants to do other things and accomplish. So I don't know. They might be just rotting in jail. But then it doesn't matter. That's what you get. You hooked your tail. Or what's the term? You hooked your trailer on a loose cannon, and you went off and then did this insurrection on his behalf, and then you went to jail, and then he got in president, and you thinking you getting out, and then you looking and you waiting, the pardon doesn't come. I don't want to say that's for sure, but I don't know. I might want to get comfortable. All right, I was going to talk about the Gen Z boys, talk about the implication of his mass deportation plan. We're going to talk about the past laws that he's had before and the impact of those and predicting what we can expect. And then we could talk a little bit about his cabinet picks, like who's he picked so far, and what does those cabinet picks mean about how he's going to do a second term. And I think it's really important for you to realize that the second term of a president, because you only can do 2 terms, 8. Presidents could do more of what they wanted to. You have what's called political capital as a president. Is like you have to give and take and pull with the Congress, with different executive agencies, with different parties, with different people around the world. You only have so much political capital. And so a lot of things he promised his MAGA, a lot of things he needed to do in order to get you MAGAs to vote for him the second term, he's not necessarily going to do. So I think that's what you need to be aware of, that he was scary. And I'm not saying he's not going to continue to be scary. I'm thinking he's not going to be as he said he did on the campaign trail. He just did that to get votes. So the man is a master marketer. I'm going to give him that. Okay, hope that's helpful for you guys. Watch this playlist in this video. I'm going to share other postmortems here. All right, like, subscribe, share this video with other folks. And yeah, Leopards Eating People's Party channel, rebrand. Let's get it.